I'm Gary Anthony Ramsay with your Hour News Now Rewind. Stories making headlines for the week ending September 25th, 2010. Our top stories include: the Obama administration shakes up its economic team. The Republican Party pledges to America to stop the Obama agenda. A popular pastor denies allegations of sexual misconduct. Facebook's owner makes a huge contribution to public schools. Africa could pass North America in oil production. And 2 young football stars die before their time. Our top story: the midterm shakeup of the Obama administration continues with the departure of his chief economic advisor. Lawrence Summers will leave the White House to return to Harvard University. Summers is the 3rd member of Obama's economic team to leave in recent months. He follows Budget Director Peter Orszag and Christina Romer, who is the head of the Council of Economic Advisors. Many Republicans who see this as a sign that Obama is rethinking his economic policy have urged the president to replace Summers with someone who is more, quote, business-friendly. Well, Republicans didn't make things any friendlier in Capitol Hill after they released the blueprint for what they would do if they took control of Congress. They're calling it the Pledge to America, and its main focus appears to be reverse or stop anything on the president's agenda. At the top of the list for the plan, Republicans vow to repeal the health care law, permanently extend the Bush tax cuts even to the wealthiest Americans, and cap the use of unspent stimulus money, which now stands at $210 billion. The White House has responded by calling it a return to the failed policies of the Bush years.
But the chair of one of their campaign committees already told us their intentions. He said that if the other party takes control of Congress, they plan to pursue, and I'm quoting here, the exact same agenda as they did during the last administration.
In the Pledge to America, Republicans describe the president as arrogant and out of touch. The changes from the national health care law went into effect. Insurers can no longer deny coverage to children with pre-existing conditions. They can no longer cap lifetime spending on medical costs, and now parents can keep their children on their insurance policies to age 26. The administration got more bad news as unemployment numbers took an unexpected jump. First-time filers for unemployment have climbed to 465,000 people. The spike comes after 2 straight weeks of declines and word that the recession officially ended last June. The news drove stocks lower as jittery investors reacted immediately. The jobless rate, one of the most watched indicators of the state of the economy, still hovers at about 9.6%. About 1 in 4 African Americans under the age of 30 does not have a job. In Atlanta, the head of one of the nation's largest churches is being sued by former members who accuse the minister of forcing sex on the young men when they were in their late teens. In the lawsuits, Bishop Eddie Long is accused of having sex with the teenagers when they were on so-called mentoring trips.
He would use biblical stories to talk about how important it was to follow your leader and your master, and let him know that the acts that he was engaged in were not necessarily meaning that he was a homosexual or that either of them was.
Through his lawyer, Long has vehemently denied the claims, and parishioners of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church are standing by their pastor.
It breaks my heart when people come out with stories like this and they focus on all of the negative and never focus on the positive.
Long is a married father of 4 and has been a very vocal opponent of same-sex marriage legislation. In Michigan, a man accused of killing 5 and injuring more than a dozen others with a knife across 3 states is charged with new counts of murder and attempted murder. Elias Abuelazam is charged in the August 2nd death of a Michigan man and injuries to 4 others in separate attacks. He still faces charges in Virginia and Ohio. Most of his targets were African-American men between the ages of 17 and 65. Cory Booker has more than 27,000 people who like his Facebook page, but he's apparently made a $100 million impression on the owner of the world's largest social networking site. Mark Zuckerberg made a donation for that much to the Newark public school system. He has no connection to Newark. His friendship with Booker is the only link. The Facebook creator and Booker made it official on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Zuckerberg makes the huge pledge 1 week before the release of the new movie, The Social Network. The film allegedly depicts the 26-year-old billionaire as socially awkward and hungry for money and prestige. The Newark public school system serves more than 40,000 kids and has an annual operating budget of $800 million per year. In Florida, a federal jury now has the fate of reggae star Buju Banton in their hands as his trial wraps up in Miami, a trial that included the testimony of the son of Bob Marley. Stephen Marley described Banton as the voice of the people and that they never talked about drugs. The prosecutors put up informant Alexander Johnson, who claimed that he made arrangements with Banton to transport cocaine from Venezuela to St. Martin. The U.S. Justice Department also provided taped conversations of Banton to the jury. Banton faces life in prison if convicted. In your Hour News Now World Wrap, Wyclef Jean's bid to become the president of Haiti is now completely over. The R&B star had vowed to appeal his disqualification from running in the November election. But Jean said in a statement that after, quote, painstaking reflection with my wife and daughter, I have chosen to end my bid for the presidency of Haiti. Jean faced criticism for running for the office, including some from his former Fugees mates. The run also renewed old allegations of mismanagement regarding his Yele charity. Haiti was devastated by a massive earthquake in January that killed more than 250,000 people and left millions of others homeless to this day. The new fighting in Somalia has killed more than a dozen people and injured more than 70. The shooting took place in the capital of Mogadishu. The al-Qaeda-linked al-Shabaab group launched the offensive against pro-government forces, according to the United Nations. Most of the dead are civilians, and the fighting takes place despite the presence of newly arrived troops from the African Union. An AU representative says a lack of cohesion in the Somali government is partly to blame for empowering al-Shabaab and other insurgent groups. An oil industry analyst predicts that Africa will outpace North America in oil production and become the world's third largest producer of oil behind the Middle East and Central and Eastern Europe. PricewaterhouseCoopers says the recent big deposit fines in Uganda and Ghana will set off a major flurry of oil exploration. A U.S. moratorium on oil exploration set off by the BP oil disaster will curtail U.S. numbers over the next 5 years. Africa currently supplies 11% of the world's oil. That's your World Wrap. In sports news, 2 young football players died before their time in 2 separate incidents. One was a rookie in the NFL. The other was a senior in high school. Reggie Garrett collapsed on the field during the game last week and then died in a hospital later that night. The quarterback for West Orange Stark High School apparently suffered from a seizure. Garrett was a straight-A senior at the school and was considering which college he might attend, but he also had a history of seizures as a child. The school is planning to retire his number jersey. Garrett was 17. And finally, another football player with a bright future also died. But all was apparently not well in the life of Kenny McKinley, who police say killed himself. The Denver Broncos wide receiver was drafted in the 5th round back in 2009. He appeared in 8 games but caught no passes. Coaches and teammates were looking forward to a breakout year for the Atlanta native, but he injured his knee near the end of last season. The Arapahoe Sheriff's Department says McKinley died from a single gunshot wound. Kenny McKinley was 23. For a complete look at any of the stories you've seen on The Rewind, remember as always, go to the bottom of the webpage, find the link of the story you'd like to see, and click your way through. That's your Hour News Now Rewind for this week. I'm Gary Anthony Ramsay.